I didn't even want to dance. I was standing by the edge of the crowd, holding my drink like a shield, watching people float around each other. Eyes closed, bodies, moving hearts. Exposed in rhythm. I felt invisible, and maybe that's what I needed to be unseen. To be untouched, to be safely on the outside, where no one could reach me. The lights shimmered on the floor like pieces of broken stars. And I stared at them, counting seconds, pretending the beat wasn't crawling into my chest, pretending I didn't want to feel anything at all. Then that song came on, the one I used to dance to. Alone in my kitchen, half sad, half free, and I felt something shift like the walls I built were cracking just a little, just enough. I closed my eyes just for a moment, to pretend I was somewhere else, or maybe someone else. And when I opened them, you were standing there. You didn't say a word. You didn't even smile. You just looked at me. Like you had been searching for me. Like you knew exactly who I was. Your hand reached out slow, certain, and somehow I didn't step back. My fingers moved before I could think, before I could stop them. They met yours. The music was almost ending, just a few more seconds. And yet everything began right there when your skin touched mine. I forgot the weight. I forgot why I built the distance. Why I had kept everyone out we moved, not in perfect time, but in something deeper, something. You didn't pull me close too fast. You didn't try to lead you, just danced with me, like we were equals, like we were both breaking in the same places and healing in the same breath. The room disappeared. The lights, the noise, even the beat itself felt quieter, like it was making space for this, for us. I looked up into your eyes, and everything inside me stilled. The storm quieted. The ache paused, because you were looking at me like you saw the whole story, and didn't want to skip a single page. The music faded, your hand in mine. No one else seemed to notice. You leaned in not to kiss me, just to whisper something soft. Something like, "I'm glad I found you." And I wanted to cry because you hadn't found me. I had been right there all this time, waiting to be noticed, waiting for a reason. The moment was over, and yet it wasn't, because something stayed in my skin and my chest, in the space between our fingers. I walked away with the memory of your touch, and the ache of almost, and the hope of again. One song, one glance, one hand reaching. Suddenly, I wasn't invisible anymore. I was right in the center of something new. Something terrifying. I didn't even know your name. I didn't ask you, didn't offer, and somehow that made it more powerful, like names would have broken the spell, like knowing would have made it less magical. One dance, and I memorized your face, like it had been painted in the light. Your eyes held something familiar, like home, or a place I had been once in a dream. I never wanted to wake from. The music had stopped, people moved on laughing. I kept touching my fingers, as if your warmth might still be there, like it had left a mark. I could feel the space between skin and meaning. I could chose a coincidence. You had stepped into my silence, and now it wasn't quiet anymore. I saw your shadow once moving through the crowd. Just a glimpse, just enough. And my heart jumped, like maybe you were looking for me too. Like maybe you hadn't forgotten. I walked the same path the next day, but your face stayed sharp, etched in a memory. I didn't know I was making every glance, every second, every heartbeat. Anymore, I wondered if you thought about it too. If that night echoed in your thoughts, it remembered the way our hands met, not with fire, but with something slower, quieter, more permanent. I just needed to know that I wasn't the only one changed. I walked into places, hoping to find you. I stood in corners, hoping to feel that same spark, that same moment when the world paused. Still, think about me. Did I feel like home too? Or was I just a passing shadow in your story? The truth is, even if you forgot, even if I was just a quiet chapter, I'll carry you with me, because some nights rewrite us, even if they never happen again. That one dance, that one night, that one look at held more than some people feel in a lifetime. One heartbeat, shared one stranger who felt like everything I told myself. I would forget you. I told myself it was just one night, one moment, one connection in a chaos that couldn't mean anything more. I said it again and again, like a mantra, like a spell I hoped would erase the way you looked at me, the way your hand felt in mine, the way your silence understood me better than any words ever had. I really tried. I went out. I met people. I smiled when I was supposed to. I let someone else brush hair from my face. Let them lean in. Let them ask questions you already knew the answers to without even speaking. It was your breaths. I remembered your presence I searched for like a melody that stayed in the air long after the music stopped. They laughed. At the right times, they held my hand. They kissed me in the dark, and I felt nothing. I waited for the spark, for the ache, for the warmth to creep from my fingertips to my chest, for the moment my soul would whisper finally. I kept thinking, maybe the timing was wrong. Maybe I wasn't ready. Maybe I was holding too tightly to something that was never mine to begin with. Somewhere random, and it hit me like a wave. Braced for that missing feeling. It wasn't about time. It wasn't about healing. It was about you. No one else looked at me. It was something fragile, something sacred, something worth waiting for. No one touched me, like they were reading a memory. I tried to convince myself it wasn't real, that I made it all bigger in my mind, that the story I kept replaying was fiction, something built out of loneliness and hope. But when someone new smiled, and my heart didn't stir, when someone held me, and my heart didn't stir, when someone held me, and I stayed silent, I knew you were the thing I didn't know I was looking for, and now I couldn't unfeel it. I had to move on, to erase your name from the corners of my day, to stop checking my phone, to stop walking into places, hoping for a miracle. And still you lived in the songs, in a late night, quiet in the smell of rain, on concrete, in the way my heart skipped at the thought of maybe I hated how much I missed you, how much space you took up in a life you had only touched once. I dated again. I let someone get close enough to see the cracks, close enough to offer love. Some people leave marks. You left a map, and I haven't stopped following it since I tried to move on. But no one moved me like you. No one ever will. And maybe you feel it too. You were there, in the shadow of someone turning their head. Almost I wandered far from the places we had touched, hoping distance would loosen your hold, hoping new skies would offer new beginnings. They didn't. Every city held echoes of you, every skyline reminded me of the way your eyes looked when you were dreaming. Every quiet cafe carried the shape of your absence across from me. A chair that felt too empty, too wrong. I looked for you in every voice. I had never noticed until they spelled your name, until the melody tore open. Something I tried to close. I looked for you in the rhythm of the rain. Each one a flicker, maybe a moment I hoped would turn around and say my name. I kept moving city to city, station to station, trying to outrun the weight of one night, trying to replace the irreplaceable, knowing deep down I never could. There were hands that reached for mine, conversations that flowed easily, laughter that came without effort, and still none of it touched the place you had lived. I told myself it was foolish to believe in something so brief, to let one moment hold so much meaning, to let one night echo through years of silence. But I couldn't unfeel it. I couldn't unknow what it felt like to be seen so clearly, so fully. Even just once I looked for you in airports, in bookstores, in late-night walks when the world was quiet enough to listen. I looked for you in dreams and memories, in reflections that tricked my heart into racing again and again. You were woven into everything, stitched into the edges of places you had never even been. I whispered your name in places where no one knew me, just to hear it again, because wondering if you felt it too. If you ever searched the crowd for me, that's what kept me awake long after the music stopped. I sat on park benches, watched lovers hold hands, listened to stories of how they met, and wondered what ours could have been, what it still might be, if the universe ever showed mercy. I walked through museums, stood in front of paintings, and still my mind painted you beside me, smiling soft, like you did that night. Even the silence feels like you now. The space in between one moment and the next, it carries your breath. Still, I searched for your voice in the quiet, for your touch in the wind, for your soul in the places I had never been. Because love, the real kind, it doesn't leave quietly. It stays hidden, waiting sometimes forever. You still are somewhere, maybe searching too, and maybe one day, one corner, one turn, you'll be there. I wasn't looking that day. I had almost stopped hoping. I had let the thought of you rest in a quiet place inside me, a place I didn't visit too often anymore. Life had layered over the memory, with distractions, with noise, with the passing of time, and still, some part of me always left the door slightly open, just in case the air was heavy, that kind of warm that wraps around your skin, makes everything feel. And then there you were, like a breath I had been holding, like a story waiting to be finished. You were just there, as if you had always been. I froze because I had imagined this moment too many times, so many versions, so many ways I thought it could happen, and none of them prepared me for the real thing. Your eyes still held the same quiet fire, the one that lit something deep inside me years ago. Without warning, I wanted to run to you, and also disappear. Because what do you say when the past walks into your night? I remember thinking this can't be real, and yet, there you were, close enough to touch, just like I remembered. and also somehow even more your name slipped out of my mouth. Like a secret, your smile answered before you even spoke. And I knew deep in the silk I had tried to silence that this moment was always meant to happen. You asked how I had been, and my voice almost broke. Because how do you explain all the years, all the songs, all the strangers who weren't you? How do you say I carried you through cities and seasons and silences? I searched for you in reflections, in conversations and dreams. And now you're just here, like a wish I gave up on decided to come true. Not really, you looked at me the way you used to when you were still learning the shape of me. And still somehow you already knew. I asked where you had been, and you said everywhere and nowhere. That you had tried to forget, tried to move on, tried to love again. But something was always missing. You said you always wondered if I still thought about you, if I had waited, if there had ever been a chance. And in that moment, I didn't need to wonder anymore, because everything I had felt, everything I had feared, I reached for your hand, and it felt like coming home, a place I had never truly left. You asked if I had missed you, and I laughed because missing you had become a part of me, like breathing, like dreaming. And in your eyes, I saw the years fall away. I saw us as we were, as we could have been, as we still might be. We stood in that moment, two stories finally colliding again. And everything made sense, the waiting, the wandering, the ache of almost, because this was always the chapter we were meant to reach. And as your fingers laced through mine, as your voice whispered my name, I knew we were no longer searching. We had found each other again at last. If this story touched you, if it reminded you of someone, or gave you hope, don't forget to subscribe and tap the bell so you won't miss the next chapter. Another chance, another beginning,